hits all the time.
You're listening to Terry Engel on ICRT's 45th Anniversary DJ Reunion Extravaganza, only here on FM 100.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the program, the morning show here for today, April 16th. And if I didn't know any better, I would say we're right here in 2016, right where we last were together. My name is Terry, and I used to host the morning show here on ICRT. We're back because we're spending our time together, because it's ICRT's birthday. Happy birthday, ICRT. You've got a whole day of, well, I don't want to say old guys like me up here hosting shows for the morning, but you got a whole day of guys like me hosting programs here on ICRT. 45th anniversary. Wow, it is so good to be back. I forgot what floor the station was on, actually. It's just amazing. It's such a feel. I feel like I've never left. Left the morning show. I feel like I never left yet. Wow, this is such a good feeling. First things first, I'm going to be here until 10 a.m., and just like old days, you know, I didn't want to come back to ICRT for the morning show and do a nostalgia program. I always, get a little nervous with nostalgia. I don't believe always looking backwards is the best way. But I thought about it, and I thought, wow, so many great memories here. So many things happened on the program. So many great people I met. So many listeners that we interacted with here on the morning show that, well, I'm afraid it's going to be 2 hours here of doing nothing but reminiscing. That's just how it's going to be here today, and that's why we're here. We're here because for 45 years, ICRT has been really the beacon for English programming in Taiwan, and it's such an honor to have been a part of it for the 7 years that I was right here hosting the morning show. So today, I will be here until 10 a.m. I hope that you stay with me the whole time. We're going to be remembering some of the things that we talked about. We're going to be remembering some of the people, some of the bits, all sorts of things. I hope you hang tight. Now, music that I have programmed for today, you're definitely going to like. All of the music on today's program are from artists that appeared on the morning show by way of actually being in the studio or remote interview or some form of them being in person on the morning show. So there's definitely a little bit of connection with all the music you're going to hear right up until 10 a.m. So we're going to jump right into it and get the program started with this one. Everybody always said I looked like this guy, and I thought I'd start here, and it was pretty apropos to begin with this one. My name being Terry, ladies and gentlemen, and I may also be somebody that you used to know. This is Gautier here on the morning on ICRT FM 100. Somebody that I used to know, Gautier here on ICRT, and I kind of feel like I'm somebody that you used to know. My name is Terry here, and for the next couple of hours up until 10 a.m., I'm rejoining you here as if it were 2013 now. I'll be with you here right up until 10 a.m. Let's check in with the Lifestyle Report. We got lots of reminiscing to do here this morning, so don't go anywhere.
Hi, this is Tito Gray on ICRT, and you're listening to Terry Engel on our 45th Anniversary DJ Reunion Special, exclusively on FM 100.
Ding Tings here on ICRT. Great DJ. I don't know what that's saying, but hopefully that's what you're feeling. A great DJ here. My name is Terry, and former morning show host. I was here from 2009 to 2017. I was succeeded in the morning show, I believe, by Papa Paul, and now the incumbent, Stevie G, who have done great job carrying the torch. Of course, Papa Paul, rest in peace. Maybe I'll talk a little bit about him later. And the incumbent Stevie G carrying the torch of the morning show here on ICRT. We've got a couple of hours to do some reminiscing, so I'm going to kind of begin right here. with the music for today. I mentioned just before the break that all of the music today were artists that appeared on the morning show in one form or another. So this next artist, I want to talk about this because this is probably one of the best answers I ever got from an interview. And this is David Coverdale from Whitesnake. And, you know, I interviewed a lot of artists, and a lot of artists, you could almost predict the answers they were going to give. So when I asked David, I said, what song do you think really defines Whitesnake? I expected him to answer the way most artists do, which is to say, well, I can't be defined by one song, or I have a whole catalog, or things change. There's, you know, these types of answers, kind of ethereal, abstract answers. David Coverdale looked at me right in the eye, and he said, the song Here I Go Again has sold 30 million copies in one form or another. I know who my daddy is. This is Here I Go Again, Whitesnake on ICRT. David Coverdale and Whitesnake on ICRT. Welcome to the morning show here. We're going to party like it's 2013 here this morning, all the way up until 10 a.m. with me, Terry. You're going to hear some other nostalgia. You're going to hear ICRT classic DJs all day here today, so I hope that you keep it locked in. When I hosted the morning show, you know, thinking back, boy, did I really enjoy my time here. And a little bit about sort of the mission of the program that I had at the time. I really endeavored to bring a Western style, a Western approach of hosting a radio program to Taiwan. And I was really trying to bring some sort of Western perspective about living in Taiwan to our Taiwanese listeners. Really trying to help them understand the way that foreigners see things here in Taiwan, the way that we perceive them, given our, our own different biases and backgrounds. And then on the other side of that, I really tried to teach foreigners, if you will, expats that live here in Taiwan, a little bit about Taiwan. I really tried to balance it in the sense that I was bringing a show about Western perspective of Taiwan to the Taiwanese, and I was hopefully trying to educate the expat or the foreign listeners that were listening here or new to Taiwan a little bit about Taiwan's history and things that went on there. I really held that as the mission statement of the morning show for those years. I really hope it translated. There was so many people that would always call in and comment and talk about the things I talked about, and I really don't think at the time I had any idea how much, I don't want to say impact because I don't want to make this more grandeur than it probably was, but I really didn't think so many people listened as much as they did. I mean, everything I talked about, people would comment on and bring for discussion. And, you know, at the time there were lots of discussions in the forums and through the phone calls I got and on the social media and everything. I really, looking back now, I don't think I had any idea how much, again, it's not about influencing, or it's about sparking conversation. That's what I want to get to. Really about starting thoughts and starting conversations about things. And that was probably ultimately the best part about being here on the morning show, was just the fact that I could bring things up, I could bring my perspective into things, and it would start conversations and people would continue them and hopefully, I mean, the goal was to add a little bit of flavor to everybody's morning. And the comments that have poured in actually over the past couple of weeks when ICRT announced that I and other DJs would be back here, oh wow, I mean, I'm so overwhelmed that some of the listeners remember me, and these are the things that the listeners remember. So with that in mind, quick shout out here to Andrea Huang. And I say this as a shout out because this was sort of one of the social media contests that ICRT has been running over the past couple of weeks, which was exactly that. Which classic DJ do you remember? Which, DJ from years past, from the days of yore, do you remember and why? And so I shout this out to Andrea Huang, who left me a comment or left a comment on the ICRT social media. And here's what she said. She says, Terry's show accompanied me during my commuting time for quite a while. He is the morning show DJ I listened to the longest, the other one being Papa Paul. Terry always made me feel like he genuinely loves Taiwan, hoping for improvement and knowing the people around him and the environment. What's more, Terry loves my hometown, Kaohsiung. Ah, yes. Thank you so much, Andrea, for those comments. Oh, very much appreciated. We're going to continue the music here for now. We'll continue this reminiscing affair as we go on. For now, though, this is the Killers, who did also appear on the morning show here at one time in the past. This is Mr. Brightside on ICRT. We're back on the morning show. My name is Terry, coming at you from, the days gone by where it's a whole day of classic DJs here on ICRT, so I certainly hope that you stay tuned. We were just talking a little bit about, the involvement of all the listeners here, and this is really, before we get to the top of the hour, I really, I cannot say enough about this aspect of working at ICRT was the engagement of the listeners. This was another thing I really tried to do with my program, which was to really engage the listeners, really kind of get them involved in the show. Why? Because this show should be for you. This is not for me to kind of be up here and, although I would play music I liked from time to time, and I obviously chose things I wanted to talk about, but I really tried to engage the listeners. I really tried to make it an open forum for people to begin conversations, to discuss with me. I remember we had probably the most fun that we had on this program was during the last hour every morning, where we had the themed request hour. We'd pick a year, we'd pick a topic, we'd pick a style of music, and we would let you, the listener, do the programming of all of the music. And this really was probably my fondest memory of the morning show, which was seeing all the requests every morning, how creative all the listeners were, how engaged they were, how well they knew music. It really made me happy because of how much I love music and how much I'm into it, that hearing all those songs, it was, I always save that for the last hour of the morning because I wanted to walk away from the show every day knowing that I had engaged with listeners. I don't want and didn't want people to just sit there and have it as background music, although I'm sure a lot of you are probably driving, and you should be. You shouldn't be paying too much attention to what I'm doing if you're driving. Eyes on the road, focus straight ahead, eyes forward. But it really satisfied me at the end of every program to know how many people got engaged, how many people interacted, how many people were able to have just a little bit of say in the program, even if it is just one song. So we'll play a little bit of music to get us up to the top of the hour. Again, one more artist that was on the show. This is a band called Of Monsters and Men. I hope you stick around. I've still got at least another hour to go. I'll be with you right up here until 10 a.m. My name is Terry. This is Of Monsters and Men. This is Little Talks. That's what we're doing this morning. We'll be back with you right after 9. Of Monsters and Men on ICRT FM 100. ICRT FM 100, the Ramones. I want to be sedated, in keeping with the theme of today's music, artists that have appeared on the morning show in the past, or at least on the morning show that I hosted between 2009 and 2016. Marky Ramone was on the program here, not the exact original drummer for the Ramones, but he was on that tune anyway. Marky Ramone, it just, I was so lucky to have some of my idols, some of the people I grew up listening to on this program, meeting them, discussing with them. I remember it was such a great interview with Marky because I kind of asked him a couple of questions. It was going as usual interviews do. And I remember saying to him, and this is a little bit of a shout out to the UK Beat that used to be a program here on ICRT. I said to him, how do you feel about England kind of taking over punk? during the late 70s and 80s. And boy, he just launched into a lecture about punk rock music that actually turned out to be one of the best kind of interviews I've ever had. He just really went into the details of punk starting in New York City and names and places. And, he ended up going on for about 20 minutes. But I mean, just wow, what like here you have somebody, an icon from punk music history, somebody that was there when it all started, and he's sitting there talking to you, telling you the story. It's absolutely unbelievable. All right, I want to use this space as well for a little bit of a shout out to all of the people who at the time were on my program. What I mentioned before the top of the hour, I said I really tried to make the program interactive with the listeners. Well, the other way that I used to do that is I tried to have people on the program. I tried to have ICRT, other sort of DJs, news people, the copywriters, anybody that was around the studio. I would always be trying to drag them into the studio and just to do some bits with me, just to do some different things, a little bit of engagement, a little bit of conversation. We would play some games at different times. I really, really did my best to not make it just me sitting here talking at you. And I want to acknowledge a few of those people and things that we did. When I first started the morning show, I actually co-hosted with Emily David, the great Emily David, just one of the best voices that's ever been on ICRT. Eric Smith would often be on the program. I also co-hosted the show at one point with Vicky Lynn, which I'll still say to this day. I will still put that radio, myself and Vicky Lynn, Mornings with Terry and Vicky, as some of the best radio that's ever been. And I don't say that because of me. I say that because of her, and she was just unbelievable on air and just unbelievable to interact with, and made the morning show just go right over the top with the bits that we used to do. A little shout out to Bill Thiessen, who was doing the news when I first started here, and he would come in, R.I.P. Bill, loved you, buddy. He would come in and kind of do some bits with me. Mike Woodward, another former news guy that would come in and just do lots of voices and characters on my program. Liz Tsai, who used to do the news, she came in and would do a couple of bits. Of course, some currents. Keith Menconi, I've got to mention. He came in and would do bits almost every day with me. And of course, Papa Paul, right? Papa Paul came in, Paul Meter, rest in peace. Of course, one of the incumbent news guys, Gavin and Nancy, would both be in on the program. And, a big thank you to all of the aforementioned for coming on the morning show at the time and making it what it was, which was really special. We continue the music here. We talking about bands that appeared on the show. This is another one, Mr. Big, To Be With You here on ICRT. ICRT FM 100, that's Santana.
Savor! Is that what he says in the beginning?
I don't know what he said. I don't speak Spanish.
That's right, actually. Terry's Canadian.
Santana here. Santana was on the morning show back in the day, on my show twice. Can you believe that? How lucky is a guy like me to be able to say Carlos Santana was on his show not once, twice.
Wow.
Twice, 2 times.
That's awesome.
Ron Stewart in the house here. And now, right before all of this, I was talking about different people that had been on my program. Some shouts out to some of the former ICRT greats, Bill Thiessen and Vicky Lynn and Emily David, who were all at different times, Gavin, all at different times, kind of part of the morning show here. And, Ron, I kind of asked you to come here. Ron Stewart, ladies and gentlemen, of course, the, Mr. ICRT himself. But I wanted to tell a story about you, Ron.
Okay.
Just while you're here, while I saw you walking by the studio, I wanted to bring you in because it was my, how do we say, my maturing moment as far as being a radio host, as far as being, kind of a presenter. Do you remember this? I'm springing this on you, so you have no idea what I'm talking about. Yeah, you have no idea what I'm talking about. Do you remember and this was right when I first started. The L.A. Dodgers came to town. Do you remember this?
I do remember that.
Okay. And the L.A. Dodgers were in town. They were playing a Taiwanese all-star team. And you and I had been invited to the Dodgers dinner and their kind of gala afterwards. Do you remember this?
Yes.
Okay, good. So during that gala, there was a television station from L.A. that was kind of doing a piece on the L.A. Dodgers coming to Taiwan and all of these things. And at some point after the dinner, and keep in mind, I'm new to ICRT. I think this was one of the very first things.
One of the first things we did together. It was fun hanging out with that, and I remember that night clearly.
Definitely. And the sort of the television reporter, the person who was hosting the television program, was kind of going around the room and talking to some people and asking some questions. And they came up to me and they said, well, how's things going? How do you feel about tonight's dinner, and how do you feel about the Dodgers? And the camera on me, everything spotlight, everybody's looking, and I just froze. And I just said, it's great. And Ron Stewart, out of nowhere, comes in, jumps in, and he says, well, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen, right from Terry ICRT. He says it's great. And you know what? And you saved the whole bit. You saved everything, because I am. I just kind of had deer in the headlights look, didn't know what to say, didn't know kind of how to react, and you just kind of jumped in and made everything kind of okay. You know what I mean? You just knew what to do right away. You saw me struggling.
Gotta do it.
You saw me struggling. You're like, man, I can't let this guy hang.
Right, my boy Terry. Let me go here and see if I can fix this. Right.
And you just jumped in and you saved the whole bit for me, and that's.
You loosened right up after that, though. I do remember that.
I
know.
But I needed that. You know what I mean? And that was really one of the first things that I'd ever done at ICRT, and things just got easier after that. And watching Ron for so many years, Ron, it's been a pleasure. And definitely, I think everybody at ICRT has learned from you.
That's real flattering, Terry. I've always had nothing but good things to say about you, and I told you about that a while back after you left.
Yeah.
After we separated for a while there. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
all right.
One of the most coolest dudes I've ever met in my life, Terry.
Oh, go on. All right. Well, we'll move ourselves right into Language Links. I see Language Links is still here, as it should be. It's got to stay. I love it. I still, the odd time from every now and again, I hear my own voice on Afu's Taxi or something. Language Links. I love it. All right, we'll continue with more music right after this on ICRT. Kelly Clarkson, My Life Would Suck Without You. You know, Kelly is probably not on my regular rotation on my own listening device. However, Kelly Clarkson will always hold a special place right here on the morning show. Kelly Clarkson was the very first interview I ever did for ICRT. So my life might suck without her, quite possibly. All right, we continue on here. You know, it's a little bit of nostalgia this morning. I always said nostalgia is dangerous, but it's been so nice being around the studio, reminiscing with others, with Ron, with all the people that, all the good people here at ICRT, that all the people behind the scenes that go into making this programming and broadcast possible. I think about all of the work that all the people behind the scenes did, the sales team, the marketing, the news team, the engineers, everybody here. The nostalgia just keeps rolling in. The longer I sit here, I think about all of the marketing initiatives that were done during my program. A few that I really want to talk about because I just had such an amazing time. Again, I don't even know that I realized at the time how good a time I was having here. But I think about, let me recall a couple. I think about the EF trips, English First. I don't know if they're still a sponsor here or not, but shout out to EF, as they did sponsor my program back there. And they would, actually they sent me to Canada every year, or to Seattle to join a ski trip as part of a DJ joining the English and travel initiative that they have. Oh boy, I did that for 4-5 years. Just, great experience being able to go skiing, meeting their students, meeting the great people of EF. I remember the amazing race, the BMW challenge that I did with Joseph. And we went to Europe, if I'm recalling this all correctly. We all started in a different point around Europe, and we had to race, shall we say, to Munich in BMWs and record it along the way and do phone drops along the way and check in with what was going on. Boy, geez, I remember that. My particular team, the Taiwan team, had started in Milan, Italy, and drove all the way up through Switzerland and then on to Germany. Oh, boy. What else here? The Wow Taiwan series. Oh, my word. Maybe one of the greatest things I've done in my life, where each month Wow Taiwan took me and you, the listeners, to a different place around Taiwan to enjoy one of the many cultural festivals, one of the many events that go on around the island. I learned so much just meeting people and getting to see all these parts of Taiwan that I never would have seen, taking part in things I never would have taken part in. I recall quite distinctly the hot air balloon in Taidong, doing that. I mean, once you've done a hot air balloon, you don't quite forget so easily. Fear has a way of reminding you throughout your entire life, what happened. But I recall that and being a Kanding and Spring Scream at different times, and boy, I don't know how many Wow Taiwan programs we did, but we did so many. The night market tour of Taiwan that we did. I know everybody probably enjoyed seeing me eat everything from Taiwan. Just so many great events put on by the marketing team here. I really, really appreciate all of that work and all of those years. All right, we're going to continue the music here. One of the other very interesting interviews I had was with Billy Corgan from the Smashing Pumpkins. A little bit notable here that this interview with Billy ended up not going to air. Nobody ever heard the interview because of a sort of technical glitch that happened, but nonetheless, he should have been on the morning show. He was a great guy. We had a great discussion. Billy Corgan and Smashing Pumpkins here on ICRT FM 100. All right, you got a double dose there right after the Smashing Pumpkins. That was Linkin Park in the end. Why is that here? Well, I talked about Kelly Clarkson being the very first interview I ever did on ICRT. Well, the second interview I ever did was with Chester Bennington from Linkin Park when they came to Taiwan. And, rest in peace, Chester Bennington. But again, really set me up. It was other people that made the morning show during my time great. I don't even think it was me so much. I think it was all the great ICRT folk that I talked about, as well as all the great guests. Reminiscing about some of the great events that we took part in the morning show. I kind of forgot a couple. I got to give a shout out to the ICRT golf tournament that happened every year. And of course, Gavin would always join me on the team. We always finished last, but it wasn't the result that counted. What was more important was that we got off work for the day to go play golf. That was always the best part about it. But those golf tournaments have stayed with me right until today. Why? Because probably my biggest pastime outside of my work endeavors is playing golf, and ICRT golf tournament had actually set me up for that. I think what happened was I was so embarrassed of coming last so many years in a row at the ICRT golf tournament that I decided I was going to take this up as a full-time hobby and keep playing until one day I became a good golfer. And we're still waiting for that day. All right, next up on the music. This was a great interview. Not because of Shirley Manson, the lead singer of Garbage, although she was awesome, but in her band Garbage is the great Butch Vig. Now, this name might not jump out at you, but Butch Vig, the bass player in the band Garbage, also big time record producer. How big? Nirvana's Nevermind. Yeah, that sounds big enough to me, doesn't it? Other Nirvana records, about as big as it was. Any big record made in the 90s, Butch Vig was involved in. It was such a pleasure, my honor, to meet him as well. So this is Garbage, Shirley Manson, Butch Vig, and company here as the morning show rolls on ICRT FM 100. ICRT FM 100, 21 pilots there, stressed out. Yes, again, another band that appeared on the morning show. We're getting dangerously close to the time when I got to say goodbye. This is, it's breaking my heart, everybody. It's been such a good time sitting here reminiscing. There's so much more I could sit and talk about and want to talk about. I feel like I had really accomplished something here on the morning show. I really do. I had more than 100 local bands perform live on my show. I thought that was probably my greatest accomplishment, the fact that I remained true to my love of live music and brought on as many local musicians as I could. We called it Live Music Fridays, and it ran for a number of years. This is probably my greatest accomplishments. I was also nominated at one time for a Golden Bell, not for the morning show though, for another show that I did called Metal Mayhem. I take that as a little bit of a feather in the cap, but again, none of this possible on my own. Possible with the help of others, the guests, the people behind the scenes, everybody at ICRT, the entire ICRT engine that is, and was many, many, many years before I ever came to ICRT. And in fact, coming up the rest of the day, you're going to be able to hear some of that. You're going to be able to hear some of that history throughout the whole day. Part of that, as I said, engine that rolled right into helping me make the morning show between 2009 and 2016 what it was. So I do hope that you stay here for the rest of the day. I think coming up in a few moments, you've got Rick Monday, who did host the morning show before I did. Actually, I think Emily David was a buffer in between Rick and myself, but he's coming up next. So I do hope that you stick around and listen to that. Oh boy, all I gotta do now is say goodbye. I don't want to say goodbye, ladies and gentlemen. I feel like it's an old shoe here. I've just slipped right back in. I could sit here every morning again for hours on end talking to you, having you talk to me back. Even if you're not, I'm hearing you. I'm hearing you. I see you all. I feel you all. And who knows? Maybe one day in the future we shall meet again. I hope for it. I hope you can count on that. Again, I'll close with a big thank you to everybody at ICRT making this happen. I'll close with a big happy birthday, happy anniversary. I hope the tradition of ICRT in Taiwan grows stronger. I think that ICRT, not just through my show, but through all of the programming, has been one of the strongest connections between, shall we say, the West and, I don't want to say America or North America in particular, but shall we say the West and the East, that is Taiwan. It really has been that conduit. It has, really been one of those, icons around Taiwan. Taiwan would not have been the same without ICRT. And for that, I thank ICRT and I thank all of you, of course, during my time. For all the interaction and all the kind words in this past week in the promotion of me kind of coming back for a couple of hours, all the kind words that I saw from everybody. Oh boy. Again, you don't really realize how many people you're reaching out to when you're on the airwaves here at ICRT. So thanks everybody. I hope you've enjoyed. I'm going to close the program here with David Lee Roth. David Lee Roth wasn't on the program, but the three guys that were in this band all appeared on the morning show at different times. Steve Vai, Billy Sheehan, and Greg Bissonette. So we'll close with this one. Thanks so much, everybody. I do hope we meet again here on the morning show one day. My name is Terry, and we'll see ya. Enjoy the rest of the day, everybody.